hope you're ready. This is going to be exciting.
Here we go, career starts up to go. Green flag is out and we're underway.
Just a few laps into this. Oh, the 37's getting loose. Oh, and he saves it. Oh, they're going 3 wide.
We've got a 5-way fight for the win of this race coming to 4 laps to go. Spectacular fashion.
Well, welcome back, race fans, to the SAVE22.vet Premier Truck Series here with Goat Locker Racing. Tonight, we kick off the round of 8 with some short track racing at Iowa Speedway. The next 2 races will determine which 4 drivers will have a shot at the championship in the finale race, and a win tonight could lock them into that championship 4. Will one of our contenders punch their ticket to Homestead, or will we have a non-playoff driver play spoiler here this evening? We'll find out live right here on V-Speed. Thank you for spending your Friday evening with us. My name's Daniel Cunningham, joined up here in the broadcast booth by Logan Threlkeld, as well as Bradley Cooper running the production truck. Cameras courtesy of Dougie Beard. Logan, you know firsthand from experience how important it is to get that win in the round of 8, lock your way into the championship 4. You just did so on the Wednesday night Premier Series. How much pressure does that take off for the driver that's able to do so?
It is a ton of weight off of your shoulders. There you see the round of 8 drivers that have an opportunity to advance to the Champ 4 here today in Iowa. It is going to be one of the bigger, how do I want to say this, outcomes of the season if we don't get one of these drivers to lock their way in. Like you said, there could be a spoiler of a non-playoff guy that just comes in here and really shakes things up today.
It could definitely shake up that playoff grid as we head to Iowa Speedway here this evening, located out in Newton, Iowa. Little under a mile long, 7/8 of a mile, 14 degrees of banking in the turns, 10 on the front straightaway. It did recently have a repave, so there is a little bit more grip in the lower lanes. And interesting fact about this track, it's the only oval on the NASCAR circuit that was built after the advent of the safer barrier, so that outside wall doesn't have a full concrete wall behind it. You'll actually see that on the sim as well, the way they have it laid out with the artwork. So little interesting tidbit about the track there. But these drivers have their qualifying runs finished up, and it is time to hand out the Jam Printing and Promotions Pole Award here this evening. And since forming in 2013, Jam has contributed printing and promotional sponsorships to more than 60 local nonprofits, with a primary focus on organizations that assist veterans, women, and children. They've been with Goat Locker Racing since the very beginning, local and veteran certified. When they do well, they do good in the community. Starting on the pole here this evening is going to be the 04 of Wesley Burke, one of those championship contenders. To his outside on row number 1, Lucas Lyons. making an appearance here this evening in the 17. Starting on row number 2, it'll be Jonathan Cofield in the 58. Samuel Joseph, last week's winner, rolls off in P4. Starting in the 5th position here this evening is Mark Whitley. Thaddeus Friel Jr. to his outside in 6th. In 7th place, going to be Levi McCarty in the 51. Mike Browning in the 4 truck starting in 8th. Rounding out the top 10 here this evening, it'll be the teammates Jake Ellingson in 9th and Patrick Travick in 10th.
Behind the top 10 in 11th, it's Michael Kostick in the 3 next to the 20 of Jason Kristen in 12th. In 13th, James Goshen in the 85 machine next to James Kaufman in the 25. P15 starts out with the 99 of Brandon Wallace and the 33 of Tyler Justice on the outside lane. Behind them in 17th, Michael Seymour in the 37 next to Chuck Peglake Phelps in the 75. And last but not least, the 64 of Matt Knights will round out our 19-car field.
It looks like race control has extended the pace laps here, so just a moment to go over the race analysis. Got 110 laps on the board here this evening. 4 sets of tires available to these drivers. Of course, we got the 2 green-white checkered attempts as always. Running 50% fuel, a little bit of a strategy curveball. The driver's probably only able to go about 45 laps or so on a tank of fuel. It's going to be a 2-stop race for these guys out here this evening. But Logan, since we've got the extra pace lap here, let's put each other on the spot a little bit. You were able to break the Cunningham commentator curse on Wednesday night. Even though it wasn't in the booth, we'll still count it because I called you my race winner in the YouTube chat on that one Wednesday. So I'll let you go first. Who you got for the win here tonight?
You know, I'm going to have to go with King Forg himself, the 17 or the 41 on track. Lucas Lyons starting out here in P2.
King Forg, always a solid bet with that. You know, maybe it's low-hanging fruit to take the guy that's leading the series in wins here this season, but Mark Whitley rolling off in the 5th position. I think he'll be the one to get it done here this evening. And, you know, you mentioned that King Forg truck, the commentator curse. I like that. We've already got the Bradley Cooper graphic ready here. That is some great work there by our producer this evening. That King Ford truck on the outside looks like it should be sponsored by Crayola with the way that it's colored in there, but getting ready to go green. Wesley Burke, your pole sitter on the inside. Green flag is in the air. We are underway here at Iowa. Logan, already your pick looking pretty good here. King Fork takes the lead. He's in P1 now as they head off of into turn number 3. Battle is on for second. Wesley Burke on the outside. Got Jonathan Cofield on the inside. And take a look right there behind Cofield. Just a few truck lengths back. You've got the 51 of Levi McCarty. I bring that up because these two drivers, they've had some run-ins in recent weeks, the last 2 weeks. And it just always seems to work out that the guy that's maybe roughed you up a little bit, you always find a way right back next to.
That's just the spirit of competition between those two. It's always good, hard racing. Just sometimes ends up not in favor of either one of the drivers, maybe a little bit more in favor of one versus the other, but you can pretty well always count on these two being somewhere near each other on the track if it doesn't come down to a certain pit strategy being played.
Yeah, absolutely is. This turning into a 4-truck battle here. McCarty looking to the inside. Samuel Joseph has been able to close in on this battle as well. Cofield trying to work this top lane, but McCarty able to get through for the 4th position. Now going to set sights on Mark Whitley and see if he can take that place away as well. As almost contact between the two leaders there of Lucas Lyons and Wesley Burke. That was a big moment for the 17 or 41 on your timing and scoring or on the screen, depending on which one you're looking at. But they are side by side now as they head into turn 1.
You know, and I was watching a lot of these drivers. Take it back here. Yeah, it looks like maybe a little bit of help there from the 04 of Burke. Couldn't quite tell if there was any contact to the rear of Lucas Lyons' machine. But thinking about the practice session, you know, we're already starting this race off at 129 degrees of track temperature. The practice session was looking pretty solid at the beginning, 131 now even. but it quickly promoted to major sliding as that track temperature came up. So keep an eye out on that. These tires will wear down very quickly. These drivers really going at it up here at the front of the field right now.
Lucas Lyons not wanting to give up that race lead, but Wesley Burke has that upper groove where he can carry a little bit more momentum. That top lane usually works pretty well here at Iowa, although maybe not quite as well as it used to since the repave. But Wesley Burke able to put it to good work here. And King Forg is going to have to look at the back of that Premier Setups truck for at least a few laps here, try to maybe let the tires cool off and make another charge at it.
Lions did inherit that lead right off the get-go, so, you know, a little bit of front of the pack time, but he will have to settle in here for a second, get some dirty air on that nose, get used to how that is going to drive as these runs progress. And of course, that 50% fuel that we're starting out with will only create even more loose conditions as that weight comes down in the rear axle of this truck.
Yeah, and that may help out the balance a little bit. Some of the drivers we were talking to pre-race, it seemed like it was a little bit more of a tight condition that they were fighting, especially through the middle of the turns. So could potentially work into their favor as the run progresses here. Taking a look on board with Patrick Drabick, got the driver cam on here this evening. Trying to track down Thaddeus Friel Jr. for the 7th position. Drabick up 2 spots from where he initially started here this evening, currently running in 8th.
Taking a look through some of the timing and scoring pretty well. Everybody's moving up evenly here between our playoff drivers. McCarty up 3 positions, Whitley up 2 positions, Drabick up 2. Be really going to come down to tire management, in my opinion, once it all settles in. Battle for
man, moment for Lucas Lyons.
Extremely loose off of turn 2. That's going to give the 77 of Whitley a run. A look to the outside. The 41 machine is going to have to calm it down a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like he may have pushed a little bit too hard here early on. Now starting to struggle with the rear grip of that truck. Taking a look on board with him here, Mark Whitley is going to be able to clear through for the 2nd position. He's got Levi McCarty and Jonathan Cofield, the next 2 in line behind him. He's doing a nice job so far of hanging with Mark Whitley, but I mean, you can see it there from the onboard. A lot of counter steer, a lot of sawing on the wheel, especially on the exit of that turn. And here comes McCarty looking to the inside. He's going to try to get himself up into a podium position. He's working it, trying to go around maybe the more difficult way here. It seems like the top groove is a little bit easier to make the passes, but McCarty able to utilize that bottom lane. Right there, though, you can see just how much they're both struggling on the exit. And especially once they hit that transition there from the new pavement back to the old pavement with the way they did this repave, I guess maybe they ran short on funds. They only repaved about a quarter of the track was where they did that in the turns. And all the grip is in that darker pavement. You could see it there when McCarty missed that and got up into that lighter gray. It just let Lucas Lyons pull right up alongside and just can't carry as much speed.
And this battle with Lyons right now is only letting McCarty's rival of Cofield sneak his way into the picture, closer and closer each lap, staying right behind the 51 machine down the back straight. Lyons keeps the 51 up a little bit higher than he would like to be. But Cofield just biding his time for the moment, waiting for one of these 2 drivers to make a mistake or both drivers to make a mistake, work his way up to a podium spot.
And not quite clear yet, but he does get enough momentum on corner exit to slide up in front of the 51. And able to play a little bit of defense right now on Levi McCarty. Again, that's just letting Jonathan Cofield, like you mentioned, kind of sit here, maybe just keep his tires cooled off a little bit and try to see if one of these guys slips up and makes a mistake. And, you know, if you're the 58 of Jonathan Cofield, you've gotten into it with the 51 here the last 2 races, maybe a little bit more on the giving end than the receiving end on that. So, Logan, if you're in Cofield's position, are you trying to give a little bit of extra room to McCarty as they race here?
You know, it all comes down, like I said earlier, it's the spirit of competition. You can't really give an inch whenever you're both playoff drivers. Obviously, we've mentioned it multiple times before, race car drivers have the best memory when it comes to stuff like that. So each one of them is probably thinking about it, but when it comes down to it, if you no longer take the gap, you're no longer a racing driver. So
very well said. I like that. So, you know, they're going to be going at it. They both want to get this position. They want to have a chance to race for the championship. Right now, both of them, I mean, at the very least, doing what they need to do. You don't have to necessarily win one of these races to get your way into that championship four. And, I mean, both of them right now running as at least one of the 4 highest playoff drivers. So doing exactly what they need to do. But Wesley Burke so far has been in control of this race for the most part. Started on pole, did lose the lead there early on to Lucas Lyons, but starting to get a new challenger here as Whitley closing in a little bit. Battle for third back on. McCarty looking to the inside here. And oh, Lucas Lyons big loose on corner exit yet again. That's going to give McCarty what he needs to clear, but that also lets Jonathan Cofield through as well.
You know, to go back to what you're just saying, you don't necessarily have to win one of these races. Consistency proves to be vital. As we've got Brendan Wallace here in the round of 8. That driver always consistent on track, just trying to be out there and stay out of trouble as best possible. We're going to take a look at this incident here with Lucas Lyons. It was a move to the inside from McCarty. A little bit of contact there from the bottom. The 51 slides up the track. The 41 on your screen just gasses it up a little bit too hard once you make that transition off of the new pavement there. If you've got a little too much RPM in it, that's where you'll get that spin. A great save by Lyons, though.
Yeah, and it's really interesting watching some of these drivers on corner exit. The ones that are able to keep the truck controlled a little bit better are in that kind of upper lane on exit. They may run the bottom, but they'll let it wash up. You can see it on that camera angle there, looking down the back straightaway. That new pavement extends farther on that top groove. So if you can keep the truck in that a little bit longer, kind of like what we're seeing Jake Ellingson do there, it can help that drive on corner exit and carry a little bit more speed down the straights.
That was a perfect drive through that new asphalt from the 27. We'll see how he manages out of turn 2. Same exact thing. So that's the ideal line that you want to take if you're trying to attempt for the tire saving using the bottom line. Whenever it comes down to it, if you want to make that pass, you can enter about a lane and a half up to 2 lanes, and then about 50 yards into the corner is when you'll see that asphalt start to move up a little bit. Obviously different down here in turns 1 and 2. It's very close to the end, but a perfect drive right through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just trying to utilize that grip as much as possible. It's already working lap number 25 here, riding along with Jake Ellingson. Caution free to this point. Ellingson with a little bit of pressure here from Mike Browning, but able to maintain that position for now. So while we have a quick moment here, let's give a shout out to the title sponsor of the series that helps make all of this possible, SAVE22. They're a 501c3 organization dedicated to preventing suicide among veterans, active duty personnel, and first responders. Their unwavering mission extends to 4 critical pillars: shield, assist, volunteer, and educate. At save22.bet. We appreciate all of their support here in Goat Locker and with that veteran community.
Right now, Mark Whitley staying about that 0.2 of a second mark behind Wesley Burke. Dealing with some dirty air, could also be playing that longer game. You know, Burke right now breaking that air apart for the 77 to potentially run an extra lap or 2 on the fuel. I just don't quite know if the tires will be worth it at that point, as we are already halfway through our first fuel run. Remember, we're talking about 45 laps or so, and not to mention that track temperature up to nearly 140 degrees on the surface. Ooh, a wiggle out of the 04.
Yeah, it is. It's a toasty one out there today in Iowa. Track temp already gone up 7 degrees just from the green flag, and we are only 30 laps in. with it having gone up that much. Mark Whitley now closing right back in on the back bumper of Wesley Burke, trying to find a way around. It seems like the 77 has the speed to do it. He's been really conservative as far as taking care of those tires. Did see a little wiggle there out of him on the exit of turn number 4, but now the challenge is, how do you set this pass up when, I mean, you can see it there. There's not as much usable room on the entry of the turn. I mean, it's really only a 2-lane track on entry.
It's all about adaptation here at Iowa. You have to make your pass count when you get the opportunity to do so. It's side by side behind them between McCarty and Cofield. Cofield down on the bottom, doesn't get the run off of turn 4. But he's going to stay competitive here. It's a 51 running that higher line that we're used to seeing coming from Levi. Jonathan Cofield keeping it tight on the bottom of the track, saving some tire in the meantime. McCarty takes a little too high. That's going to give a great challenge to the 58 machine. Not enough to get clear across the front straight, but he did have the nose ahead at the line. So you know that that line will work if that driver ahead of you misses the groove into the corner.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting. Levi McCarty is running a line that I haven't really seen others use here. You know, you touched on it, Logan. We know that he is not shy about moving around the racetrack, running those upper grooves, but over here in 1 and 2, it seems like he's completely content with entering outside of the darker pavement, turns down into it, and I'm wondering if that's maybe helping the rotation in the center a little bit for that truck right now, and then using that good run off to kind of just play a little bit of defense here. A lot of these instances, if you're that truck on the outside lane, you're not necessarily just trying to maintain that position, because you know that the other truck is faster. You're really trying to just get them to burn their tires up down on the bottom. But I mean, he seems like he is struggling right now in that 51 truck. Big loose there on the corner, or on the exit rather, of turn number 4. Cofield starting to inch ahead just a little bit at a time here.
You'll see McCarty start to bring it down closer to the bottom, not all the way out of that groove. Trying to keep that 58 down on the corner exit so he doesn't get that run through the new asphalt down the front or back stretch. He's doing a great job of playing the pinch defense, is what I'm going to call that. There is zero room for the 58 to work his way up. That battle continues on side by side.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here too is these guys really aren't running any slower than your race leaders. They've been within about a half a tenth, maybe a little bit faster one lap, a little bit slower the next. So interesting that even side by side they're maintaining that pace. But good battle for position here. You've got Mike Browning at 8th. Thaddeus Friel, what a save out of the 98. I mean, that was almost commentator curse city right there out of the 98, but he was able to hang on to that one. Loses some track position, going to lose a couple of spots in the process, but the truck is still in one piece.
That is going to be the most important aspect of that one, is we're so close to coming down for some green flag pit stops. Expect to see some more of that happening here. It's going to be very light in the rear end of these trucks with very minimal fuel. 20 of Jason Kristen, same thing for him. Great save, big slide, side-by-side action back here just outside of the top 10.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job running that upper lane, trying to hang on to some track position here. The 99 of Brandon Wallace, one of those round of 8 drivers as well in this battle. You mentioned that consistency that he had shown in the previous round, working his way into the round of 8. Got the driver cam on, and I mean, that does a great job right there, just showing how much they are fighting these trucks on the exit of the turn. Swatting flies with that steering wheel right now, Logan.
That he is. Our leaders are coming down pit road right now. It's Wesley Burke and Mark Whitley both sliding into pit road.
And this is a pretty treacherous pit road to get onto, especially as you get the laps on the tires. With as hot as it is, it's very easy to lock up, miss the pit entry, and pound those sand barrels right there at the end of pit lane. So these drivers doing a nice job of navigating that here in the early going. And we'll see how this battle off of pit lane plays out here, as this will be for control of the race once everything cycles back around. But out on track, Jonathan Cofield now assumes the race lead, staying out, playing a little bit of a longer game here. Levi McCarty in second, Kostick now in third. They're going to be side by side on the apron leaving pit lane here. Wesley Burke with a little tire spin. Who's going to give up the position? I think Whitley's going to get it as Burke sideways.
So once it's all said and done, now Mark Whitley will inherit the lead after all the other drivers complete their pit cycle. It still could be a couple laps away from here. I don't dislike that call from Jonathan Cofield at all. You know, if this plays out, green flag run all the way to the end, he will theoretically have some of the fresher tires in the field. So watch out for the 58, watch out for the 51 once we get to that point. Taking a look here, the battle off of pit road. Like you said, side by side across that exit cone. Burke holding it down to the wall. And once we get out here, just spun it up a little too hard. Trying to beat that 77 to the backstretch down into corner number 3. He's going to lose quite a bit of ground doing so. Wesley Burke about 0.6 of a second behind Whitley now.
Yeah, and here comes Jonathan Cofield down pit lane. Michael Kostick going to stay out. It looks like one more lap and will lead one. No, he is coming down pit lane as well here, it looks like. So teammates electing to hit pit road together. And I think that was Lucas Lyons that just about got the sand barrels at the end of pit lane there. He was sideways.
Kaufman picks up a black flag on pit road entry, assuming he was speeding. Don't know by how much, but I'll try to get some numbers here for us.
This is on board with Lucas Lyons, and he is going full send down on the pit lane. He's got it cranked back to the left, cuts to the left, cuts to the right, gets it on the pit lane. And I mean, that was almost textbook, exactly what I mentioned earlier, but did a nice job of missing the pit barrels, and it gets it back out on track. Thaddeus Friel as well with a penalty on this round of pit stops, again most likely for speeding entering the pits, so he will serve that penalty. And everybody's made their first stop now, so that will cycle Mark Whitley to the race lead. Wesley Burke in the second position, Levi McCarty in third, fourth place Patrick Drabick, and then Jonathan Cofield with that little bit of a longer cycle there on that green flag pit stop. He's going to be in fifth, but you know, Logan, we've seen the 58 truck use this strategy a few times. He won a race earlier this season by doing so. He put himself in position to win last week as well with that pit call to stay out a little bit longer using the fresher tires. So not entirely surprised to see that out of Cofield.
No, not by any means. And taking a look back here at the black flags for Kaufman and Friel, it wasn't on pit road entry. It was actually middle of pit road. Both drivers just briefly touching 42 miles an hour. And that's enough to signal to the race control here in iRacing. That's too much, and you are going to have to stay here for a little extra longer. That extends their pit stop to 55 seconds for both of those drivers. A lot of ground lost. 2 laps down now for Kaufman and Friel. So we take a look on board with Samuel Joseph in the 65, completely locked in. I don't think he's blinked since we put the camera on him.
No, and he doesn't have time to grab a Twisted Tea here tonight either, as he's a little bit busy behind the wheel, a little bit more so than some of the other tracks we've raced this season, especially with the way these trucks are handling and those track conditions that we've talked about throughout the evening. Being a scorcher out there tonight. So
there it was. I saw him blink. We're good.
Okay, that was the first one.
I thought he was a robot there for a second, Daniel.
Yeah, I was starting to wonder. I mean, that is definitely the look of Focus there, as we've got a battle for position here. Jonathan Cofield trying to put those fresher tires to use. Looking to the inside of Patrick Drabick here. Does have about 4 lap fresher tires than the 07, but trying to do it the hard way around on the bottom. Looks like he should be able to get Drabick over here as they enter turn number 3. And the next driver in line is going to be the guy that's probably at the top of his Christmas card list, Levi McCarty.
Mark Whitley now has the lead after the pit cycle. Wesley Burke fell back to second place. Eli McCarty still ahead of Cofield. Gravick in the top 5. Joseph behind. Teammate to the 07, the 27 of Jacob Ellingson, P7. Mike Browning in 8th. Tyler Justice. We haven't talked a lot about the 33 machine just yet, but he is up 7 positions. Biggest mover so far this race.
Yeah, and he was one of the first ones that actually came down pit road on that green flag cycle, out there trying to maybe use a little bit of different strategy to get himself some track position. But like you said, up 7 spots, biggest mover of the night so far. Maybe try to find his way a little bit further up towards the front and try to play spoiler here tonight. Keep one of these playoff drivers from locking their way into that championship 4. But just shy of halfway here at Iowa Speedway. Mark Whitley still your race leader by about a half second over Wesley Burke. So while we do have a moment here, since we've got those green flag stops out of the way, let's thank another league sponsor that we have here, the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs. They are dedicated to serving those who have served us. They connect Indiana veterans and their families with vital benefits, resources, and support from healthcare and education to housing and employment assistance. Whether you're a veteran or no one, the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs is here to help navigate the journey. We appreciate all of their support here with Goat Locker. I believe they also do help as well with that selection process for the SimRig recipients. So pretty vital role that they play with that as well.
You know, Daniel, I was just sitting here thinking, what happened to our second place starter, Lucas Lyons? You know, we saw him slide into pit road, a great save, but turns out he tried it once before. He tried to come down pit road on lap 31, and the same exact thing happened to him, but he ended up taking the access road just on the outside of the pit road wall. So he didn't make contact with anything. A great save nonetheless, but a lot of ground lost, and that's why we find our 17/41 back in P11. Take it back here on the B-Speed Instant Replay. So he had a little bit of practice whenever he finally got to complete his pit stop. Coming down through that corner, locks up the brakes, just goes wide of the wall. A smart move, I will have to say. If you're trying to crank that wheel to the left like we saw, that time he's probably pounding the sand barrels.
Yeah, that is definitely the road less traveled there that the 41 of Lucas Lyons is taking down the front straightaway. But like you said, smart move there to just kind of take the loss on the time, go down the front straightaway, and try it again the next time around. Although the second time he tried it wasn't really a whole lot smoother than the first time, but hey, at least he did find his way to pit lane on the second attempt. So we got to at least give him credit for that. But so far, Logan, I got to say, your pick to win is not looking the best right now.
Well, you know, it happens whenever you don't make the full season. Obviously, Lions with some real-life obligations to attend to, so I don't fault him for it by any means, but, you know, it's just a little rusty behind the wheel, and it shows, but still coming out here and putting together 2 great saves to keep himself in the race at the very least. You never know, if that caution flag waves, it still might work out for him just fine at the end. On board right now with Wesley Burke holding on to the P2 position. You saw the 77 blink out of existence just momentarily. That could be an issue for Mark Whitley if that continues, but hopefully it will settle out. He can retain this lead of 0.6 of a second. That's where he's been since they completed their pit cycle. Looks like most of the battles behind have pretty well subsided, aside from Jacob Ellingson working up to the 65 of Samuel Joseph. This is a battle for P6. You see kind of the same thing that we are seeing with Cofield and McCarty. Ellingson entering closer to the bottom, Joseph staying a little bit higher in the corner. I think that's where Ellingson is able to make up some of that ground because they are on the same strategy here. They both pit on the same lap, as well as the driver ahead of them, the 07 Patrick Gravick.
Yeah, absolutely correct on that. These guys are on equal tires right now, so it's not like kind of what we've seen out of Cofield where he has has that fresher tire advantage, able to utilize that. This is just going to come down to racecraft as far as which driver can come out on top here. Ellingson looking on the bottom. Maybe a little bit of contact there with the 65, but both of them able to hang on to it. Samuel Joseph using that high lane, keeping some momentum down the straightaway. Ellingson definitely seems to be faster right now, but this is just typical Iowa right here. It is difficult to complete these passes and make them stick, but Joseph gets up into the wall. That's going to be the mistake that Ellingson needs to be able to get around and clear up into the 6th position. So that bobble there out of Samuel Joseph does end up deciding that battle. But, you know, we talked about the strategies. We've talked about the strategies and how these are going to work out. Let's take a quick look here on the replay. I think Wesley Burke may have had an issue with something here just a moment ago. He did lose quite a bit of ground.
Yeah, you can double that gap. It was 0.6 of a second last time we took a look at it. Now 1.2 between Whitley and Burke. No drivers in between them, so no lap traffic at play. You do have the 37 of Michael Seymour 1 lap down, but it might have been that as they were both passing. There's a slight bobble there, but I don't think that warrants 0.6 of a second.
No, it looked like it was over a couple of lapses where that was actually happening, that he had that big slide a few laps in a row, and it cost him a little bit of time.
Contact with the wall might do it.
Yeah, I think it was quite a few small bobbles that equaled up to that time loss that we saw here. But both of these drivers, both Whitley and Burke, are going to have to deal with Jonathan Cofield in just a few laps at the pace that they're going. Cofield currently running about 3 to 4 tenths of a second per lap faster than Wesley Burke. The advantage over Mark Whitley, not quite as dramatic, but still anywhere from about 1/10 to 2/10 per lap faster for the 58, even over the race leader.
And the bad thing right now with the 50% fuel capacity in mind is it doesn't create long runs for Cofield to really make the strategy pay off, because we're already about 10 laps away from seeing some of these drivers make their way back down into the pits. Now, if Cofield does stick with his same strategy, going for the overcut by a couple laps, it could even itself out. It might be even worse. It's very hard to say, as there goes the 41/17 right into the picture as well. Lucas Lyons now 2 laps down, as he has recently visited on fresh tires, the freshest tires in the field, as a matter of fact.
Another battle for position here involving the 65 of Samuel Joseph. He's got Mike Browning looking to the inside. Of course, that is Kaufman there behind as well, but not in the battle for position here, as he did have that green flag pit penalty that he had to serve. Side by side here between Kaufman and Mike Browning. Browning trying to find his way around, be able to put some pressure on the 65, but Kaufman doing well, I was getting ready to say Kaufman doing a nice job up there on the high lane, but he got out of the groove, got up into that lighter gray asphalt and just not able to hang on to it. But battle for second is on between Cofield and Burke, and a little too much going on at one time here, because we've also got Levi McCarty. He's going to be the first one of your race leaders to hit pit lane. So he is going for the undercut here. We'll see if he can utilize that to maybe jump a couple of spots here and get some track position. But Jonathan Cofield now back up into the 2nd position, just under 2.5 seconds behind Mark Whitley.
A complete flip-flop in strategy for the 51 team. We saw him take it about 42 laps on the first run. That time, only 27 laps completed for those tires. So it's a big change up there. The temperature has not changed, however, still 138 degrees on the racing surface. 2.2 seconds ahead of Jonathan Cofield is Mark Whitley, and those drivers still, Cofield about 0.2 of a second faster per lap. Now that is a 4-lap difference on the tires between the two. But again, we're getting so close to seeing more of these drivers bring it down pit road for their second stop of the event. I'd like to see the 58 get a bit closer here, maybe within that 1 second range before that happens.
Yeah, ideally he wants to try to close that gap up a little bit more. It was about another 0.2 of a second the last time around. So Jonathan Cofield slowly but surely chipping away at that lead. And the important thing here for Cofield too, is he was actually almost a full 0.3 of a second faster this last time around. I mean, the important thing is the longer you commit to this strategy, the more green flag cycles you get. In theory, you should be able to kind of jump some more of those drivers behind you, even if they do undercut. Like Patrick Drabick, for example, Cofield came out of the pits behind him after the last green flag cycle, but he's currently got about a 7-second lead over Drabick. So even if, which Pat's hitting pit lane now, but even with Drabick pitting, if he undercuts by about 4 laps, it should still put Cofield ahead of him, where that's one less driver he has to contend with on this final stint.
Wesley Burt brings it down pit road as well. It looks like Chuck Veltz might have had some issues. He's been down on pit road for over 2 minutes now. I didn't catch any action with him. But looks like he will not be rejoining the field anytime soon. We have a mixed bag of strategies now at play. Wesley Burt on his way out of the pits. He actually ends up beating Patrick Drabick out of the pits as well, and Drabick was ahead of him.
And Mark Whitley hitting pit lane here as well. So lap 78 is when the race leader will hit the pits. We'll see how long Jonathan Cofield decides to run this out. Be interested to see if he tries to go for about the same gap as what he did before, or if he maybe tries to cut it a little bit shorter. No, he is going to come in the following lap. And I can't really say that I blame him on that. I think he gave up a little bit too much time on that initial pit cycle compared to the race leader, but we'll see how this works out for him. He had the gap cut down to just over a second, kind of right where you mentioned, Logan, before they did come down pit lane. It was about 1.2 seconds. So with this stop and with the 1 lap undercut, we'll see where that puts Cofield in relation to the 77 truck.
I think at this point, it'll boil down to how Whitley manages getting around the lap traffic. Of course, we already mentioned, or rather you mentioned earlier, you don't have to win the race. And Cofield is setting himself up for, I would assume, a top 5 position at the bare minimum if we take this all the way to the checkered flag at this point. So keep an eye on that driver. He's in a great spot right now. Levi McCarty will be ahead of him, but that's 9 laps of difference on the tires. And we saw how well Cofield was able to navigate back up towards the front on just 4 laps of difference. So I wouldn't expect that battle to last very long, but you know McCarty still has the last 2 weeks in the back of his mind, and he will not let that pass go easily.
No, absolutely not. And we also know that Levi McCarty is really good at playing that defensive driving line. We know he's good at utilizing that high lane. I mean, we saw it with that battle with Cofield earlier. He's definitely going to have his work cut out for him with that tire difference, like you mentioned, but something that we'll keep an eye on, as he currently has, just looking at our timing and scoring, about 1.5 seconds over Mark Whitley. But last lap around, Whitley was a full 0.5 second faster. So at that rate, I don't know how much of a fight that Levi could potentially put up.
Well, Daniel, while we've got a quick moment in the break of action here, why don't you send us here to a quick commercial break, have a word from a couple of our sponsors before we get to that checkered flag. We'll be right back here with the rest of the action at Iowa Speedway.
superior quality, ultimate protection, and the highest level of craftsmanship. We make our gloves for the hard worker that wakes up every morning and gives 110%. You deserve the highest quality protective gear that's going to work for you, day in, day out. We know it can be tough deciding what companies to trust for your hard-earned money. It's all in our name. We've mastered our craft to help you master yours. We make our gloves rugged, durable, and designed for you. Whatever the job is, we have you covered. We are your glove station.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
Welcome back to Iowa Speedway. Still got a few drivers that are needing to make their final pit stop of the race here. Mark Whitley actually just taking the race lead as Brandon Wallace comes down pit lane. But one driver that came down pit lane while we were away on commercial was Jake Ellingson. And that is, that's one way to get on the pit lane. Not quite the Lucas Lyons method.
Unconventional.
Unconventional to say the least.
You know, that is what happens whenever this track temperature is on fire the way that it is, Daniel. And, you know, speaking of being on fire, how about another shout out to one of our fantastic sponsors we don't have a commercial for yet, unfortunately, MK Fire Designs. At MK Fire Design, we believe every hero's story deserves to be etched in wood. From the thin red line to every branch of our military, we custom craft handcrafted flags that honor service, sacrifice, and pride. Honor your sacrifice today at mkfiredesigns.com. Every flag has a story. What's yours?
We appreciate their support here with Goat Locker Racing as battle for second is heating up between Jonathan Cofield and Wesley Burke. Cofield with the tire advantage, trying to find his way around. He does have 3-lap fresher tires than Wesley Burke. Still, this battle taking place about 2.5 seconds behind the race leader, Mark Whitley. Jonathan Cofield on that bottom lane, not quite able to clear around yet. Wesley Burke doing a great job here, playing a little bit of defense like we've seen some other drivers doing tonight. Just gets such a good run up on that high side and able to maintain that position.
Losing time to Mark Whitley in doing so, but you know, at the same time, it's very difficult, like we've mentioned, to create a passing opportunity on the bottom of the track. And Cofield doing a great job of staying competitive side by side with it. But eventually, one of these drivers will have to give up and maybe just settle for third. They've got quite a bit of a gap over Levi McCarty now, and a huge difference on the tires between those top three and the fourth place driver. So it's a third place finish is still a great finish whenever you are in the playoffs, in the hunt for the championship 4, but neither one of these drivers willing to give that inch just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Both drivers wanting to fight for every point in every position possible before we head off to Kansas next week for the penultimate race of the season, where we'll set that championship for the finale at Homestead. Just 2 races left in the season. Jonathan Cofield here still trying to find a way around on the bottom. Wesley Burke pinching down just a little bit through the middle of the turn, trying to make sure that Cofield can't utilize the entire track on the exit. And like you had mentioned, about every lap that they're side by side, Mark Whitley about a 10th, maybe about a half a 10th faster than both of these two running side by side like this. But it's the playoffs. You can't just roll over and let somebody go, especially if it's somebody that you could potentially need to beat for that final spot in the championship 4.
Absolutely. If I recall correctly, Burke is just outside of that cut line, so this finishing position could be way more important than Jonathan Cofield. And Cofield just inside of the cut line, maybe somewhere in the third position coming into this race in the standings. But either way, like you said, every single point matters.
Absolutely. Cofield still on the bottom of the track. They are now over 3 seconds behind Mark Whitley. It's just continuing to lose time between the two of them. But I mean, it's a fantastic side-by-side battle. Wesley Burke not really doing anything wrong necessarily here. He's just running a defensive line, trying to maintain that track position. And I mean, at the end of the day too, even if it is just one spot on track, you never know when that yellow may come out. And being the second one down pit lane, if you decide to maybe take a strategy call, take 2 tires, you never know when that could be the difference between getting out in the race lead or not. But little bobble there out of the 0-4. This may be the opportunity that Cofield needed to be able to take advantage, but Burke drives it in hard on the outside, trying to hang on that right rear quarter panel. Cofield still not quite able to clear. It's going to give Burke a little momentum down the straightaway. Cofield may have to just try to drive it in and pull a slide job on him here at some point.
He's getting extremely close to having that 0-4 cleared, and there it is. A big slide from Wesley Burke on the top side. Once you made that transition from the new asphalt to the old stuff, the right rear kicked out, and the 58 gets by.
Well, that'll put him into P2 here as we are just about 10 laps to go here in this event. Mark Whitley well in command, 2.8 seconds up. So while we watch him try to navigate some of the lap traffic here, got one more league sponsor we want to give a shout out to here this evening, and that is GTR Simulators. GTR Simulator is a leader in professional grade racing and flight simulators. They deliver immersive real world experiences trusted by racers, pilots, educators, and entertainment venues worldwide. From home setups to commercial and training solutions, GTR Simulators puts you in the driver's seat. They do also have a special discount for Goat Locker Racing in the shop tab at goatlockerracing.org.
Cofield's making up a little bit of ground here on Whitley. It's not going to be enough to challenge for the race win, but he could potentially close this gap up as Whitley navigating around the 33. It's about 2.3 seconds as we work down into turn 3. Whitley could essentially put it on cruise control, make sure his tires have enough just in case Cofield does get there. There is only 2 laps of difference between those two drivers in favor of the 58 this time instead of 4. But at the same time, Cofield has to navigate all the traffic that Whitley just got through. So again, I don't think that he will have enough to challenge for the race win.
Taking a look at some of the details from tonight's race, 8 lead changes so far, flag to flag green to this point. No cautions, which, I mean, that in itself might be a commentator curse to say that as we get down to the end of it here, especially if you watched the Cup race at Kansas last week. No sooner than they're saying, hey, we haven't had a natural caution, we get the Cody Ware caution with 2 laps to go. So you never know when it may happen. And if there's one driver that does want a caution, it probably is that 58, because Cofield has been significantly faster, about 0.2 of a second faster the last lap. I mean, just the problem is he's going to run out of time to get there. As we have a spinner on the back straightaway, the 85 of James Goshen goes around, but he's off the racing surface. I don't believe it is going to bring out a yellow.
Luckily off of that racing surface, keeps it down on the apron as he's going to try to rejoin the track surface. We'll take it back here on the V-Speed Instant Replay and have a look. It was a dive down to the inside, trying to get around that 41 machine. I don't believe any contact was made. It looked like the 85 got loose, started to come down the track, and did actually get some assistance from Lucas Lyons, but I don't think there's any contact before the 85 got loose to really set that one off.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. It looked like Goshen was already starting to get loose, and then just wrong place, wrong time there for Lucas Lyons. Gets into him.
Lions got loose again coming off of turn number 2 down the back straight there. Luckily collected it up. 3 to go at the line. Be 2 to go as Mark Whitley brings us to the final few laps of Iowa.
You know, it's not necessarily over yet because Cofield was a full half a second faster that last lap. I mean, he would have to put down 2 absolute heaters here to be able to close in, and I think that gap has stabilized a little bit this time around, where Cofield needed to maintain that pace or get around the 0-4 just a little bit quicker. But white flag in the air here at Iowa. 1 to go, presented by Glove Station. Just 1 lap left here for Mark Whitley to try to lock his way into the championship 4. It's coming up on a couple of lap trucks here. Doesn't necessarily need to get around either one of them. Still plenty of gap over the 58 of Jonathan Cofield. One more time out of turn number 4. Mark Whitley going to be your winner here at Iowa over Jonathan Cofield in second. Race back to the line for third. Wesley Burke is able to hang on to that position to round out the podium. So playoff drivers taking up at least the top 5 spots here this evening.
Yeah, all the top 5 in the playoffs here. And the strategy ended up paying off for Levi McCarty. We're going to take a look back here at an incident between these 2 drivers. That's the 27 of Ellingson, the 3 of Michael Kostick. A little bit of contact coming into turn 1. Drag race down the back straight. Nearly contact in the middle of the back straight. Still side by side, but Ellingson gets the advantage coming through turns 3 and 4. 27 takes home P8. Almost lost it there right before the line, but I think the momentum would have carried him ahead still of the 3.
Yeah, really good battle between them on that final lap. But Mark Whitley, the winner here this evening, he somehow finds a way to break the commentator curse and locks his way into the championship 4. So we're going to let him celebrate. We'll take a quick commercial break and be right back to give you your full race results, as well as hear from our top 3 finishers. Be right back with you.
Donnie Kite's going to get through it all and score his first career win in the Saturday Night Racing League Cup Series. What a finish!
It's too little, too late from behind, and Sebastian Marin, your first repeat top split winner of the qualifying series.
We knew it was just a matter of time when Hunter Sr. is victorious.
Josh Adams taking the win at Iowa.
GC Spider Motorsports takes home the 1-2-3 finish.
Superior quality, ultimate protection, and the highest level of craftsmanship. We make our gloves for the hard worker that wakes up every morning and gives 110%. You deserve the highest quality protective gear that's going to work for you, day in, day out. We know it can be tough deciding what companies to trust for your hard-earned money. It's all in our name, we've mastered our craft to help you master yours. We make our gloves rugged, durable, and designed for you. Whatever the job is, we have you covered. We are your glove station.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
Welcome back to Iowa Speedway here in the round of 8 for the SAVE22.bet Truck Series. Let's go ahead and take a look at your full race results to let you know where your favorite driver finished here this evening. Mark Whitley starts in 5th, comes home P1 here this evening, locking his way into the championship 4. Jonathan Cofield comes home in the 2nd position with Wesley Burke rounding out the podium here this evening. Levi McCarty comes home in 4th with Patrick Drabick in 5th. Mike Browning finishes in the 6th position with Samuel Yosef in 7th. Jake Ellingson, after that last lap battle with Michael Kostick, comes home in 8th with Kostick in 9th. And Lucas Lyons, Logan, your pick to win. He did at least get his way back up into the top 10. He's going to round out the top 10 here this evening.
And finished on the lead lap after being a couple laps down. So not mad about it by any means. Way to shake the rust off. But back here in P11, 1 lap down and more for the rest of the field here. It's Tyler Justice in the 33, followed by the 20 of Jason Kristen. The 99 of Brandon Wallace. The playoff hopes not looking the best right now. He'll finish out in P13. The 37 of Michael Seymour takes home 14th. And then 2 laps down, it's the 64 of Matt Knights, followed by the 85 of James Goshen after his issue there late in the race, making contact with the inside retaining wall down in turn 3. Behind that, it's Thaddeus Friel Jr. in the 98. Then 3 laps down is the 25 of James Kaufman. And our only exit of the night, the 75 of Chuck Pegleg Phelps.
Let's go ahead and get a word from our top 3, starting with the race winner, Mark Whitley. Mark, you did a great job tonight. You started in 5th, come home with the race win. And more importantly than that, you broke the commentator curse because you were my pre-race pick to win. So if you felt like there was a dark cloud following you around all night, that's probably why. But, you know, we saw that Cofield was a little offset on strategy, had some really good long run pace here tonight. How were you able to kind of manage that and use that to decide when to come down and take those green flag stops?
Yeah, just was able to get up behind Wesley there for like the good portion of the first run and kind of stalled out. Like dirty air seemed to be playing a factor, especially with all the how hot the racetrack was. And then Cofield and I think McCarty both were starting to gain on us at the end of the first run. So that's when I decided to pit and kind of worked out the rest of the race. Every time they started getting kind of close to me, I thought, all right, it's about time to pit. Like, I think the second time or the third time I had to pit a lap or two before I really wanted to. That last run there, I thought we were smooth sailing because I saw him and Wesley racing pretty hard and we had like a 3.5 second lead or something like that. And all of a sudden, like the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 laps, the handle completely went away on it. I literally couldn't hit my marks. And I'm just sitting there thinking, there's no way I'm going to choke this hard because the truck, I don't know what happened. It just got so tight, so snappy. And I just kept seeing Cofield like inch in and get closer and closer and closer. And if it had been 115 laps, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now. I think he would be. But thankfully it was 110.
So luck a little bit on your side there, but a great run for you nonetheless. Led 55 laps. So right at halfway in control of the 77 machine. Now, Daniel had asked me a question at the top of the show, and I'm going to flip it around and ask you, how much relief do you get from being able to lock yourself into the championship 4 here with the first race for that cutoff and, you know, being able to defend your title?
It's a huge weight because you don't have to worry about next week. You don't have to worry about, you know, getting in someone's wreck or, you know, just having a bad night or, something happened when, having a PC issue, we are iRacing, online racing. So there's so many extra things that go wrong. So having, getting this all out of the way, it pretty much gives us, not really an off week, but, next week for us at least doesn't really matter that much because we're locked in. So it's just about having fun. And, if something bad goes wrong, then we'll go ahead and get that bad juju out of the way. And hopefully we'll be all good and clean for the finale.
Well, great job on the win here this evening, locking your way into that championship 4. Before we let you go here this evening, who do you want to thank or shout out for this one?
Yeah, big shout out to all the league sponsors here. Without them, we wouldn't be able to put on a great show like we do. Lincoln Tech, SAVE22, the Indiana Department of Veteran Affairs, NVETS, ATYL, just everybody that helps put this league together. My personal sponsor, Brantley, over there, Harpoon Design, he does awesome work. If you need a really cool paint job made, just check him out at harpoondesign.com. Best painter on iRacing. And if you're looking for an upgrade for your PC or just a brand new or just a PC in general, check out my other sponsor, Jawa.gg, #1 online gaming marketplace out there. They got great deals all the time. Check them out, especially they've had a lot of good deals on RAM lately, trying to help people get some because they're pretty much unobtainium for the rest of us. So check them out. And final shout out to you guys putting on a great broadcast. Should be fun to go back and watch. We went wire to wire there. No yellow flags, so it should be fun to go back and see how the rest of the field played out.
Well, congrats again on the win. Really strong performance here for you. We will see you next week at Kansas.
That's good, guys. Take it easy.
That's our race winner, Mark Whitley. Let's go ahead and catch up with the second place finisher, Jonathan Cofield. Man, you gave it a really strong run. You brought the gap down to within a second there by the time we got back to the checkered flag. We saw the battle that you had with Wesley Burke there for P2. Do you feel like if you could have gotten around him a little bit quicker, you may have been able to get up there and challenge for the win tonight?
Oh, definitely. He just held me up for way too long. I don't know. I tried what I could. Tried really not to burn my stuff up. I just ran the same pace and just hoping I'd beat him off the corner or he'd slip up or something like that. But I don't know if they know it or not, but running side by side for second just lets the leader take off. So I don't know.
Well, we saw you flip-flop the strategy a little bit. You're one of the drivers that stayed out the longest on the first pit cycle. Then you only stayed out for, I believe it was just 1 or 2 laps past Mark Whitley's last pit stop. Do you think that maybe if you extended that second run just a little bit, maybe the fresher tires would have prevailed?
I don't know. I stayed out long on the first one, and it took me a while to run them down. And I knew I had a good long run truck. I love Iowa. A lot of people hate this track, but it's actually one of my favorites. Getting used to the repave and the corners and stuff. But I found me a line that was working real good on the long run. So I figured on that last one when he pitted, since I was running lap times with him, I better get in pretty quick. If not with him, right behind him.
Well, still a really solid run here for you coming home in second. Got a bonus point for leading the lap there. Led a couple of them here on the evening. Should put you in a good spot as we head to Kansas next week. But before we let you go, who do you want to thank or shout out for this one here this evening?
First off, just everybody at Goat Locker, V-Speed, Bradley Cooper, you, Daniel, Logan, appreciate y'all taking time away from your family to do these broadcasts so we have something for our families to watch. Jam Parent Promotions, SAVE22, of course, sponsor on the for the series. Really appreciate them, what they do. Alexander PCs, Cruising Classics, GTR Simulators, all my teammates at Bandits. Awesome job everybody's doing at Bandits across all the series here. Really proud of those guys. Lions 3D Designs and Sim Shop. If you type in Bandits, go check them out. Save you a little money.
And hey, real quick on a side note, I think you made Bradley Cooper's night by saying his name first when you thanked all of us, because before it was the dynamic duo of me and Logan and then Brad. So appreciate you giving him the shout out first, but congrats again on the second place, and we'll see you next week at Kansas.
Yeah, I sent him a DM. He wanted him to acknowledge me, so maybe I need to just cut him out. So
agreed.
Agreed. Yeah, we'll agree with that. Congrats again, buddy. We'll catch up with you.
Appreciate you.
It's our second place finisher, Jonathan Cofield. Let's go ahead and talk to the third man on the podium here this evening, Wesley Burke. Wesley, you started on pole, got to lead some laps here this evening, had a lot of speed in the truck throughout the night. Now, you came in below the cut line, but it should help out that cause as we head to Kansas. So how are you feeling as far as your playoff chances overall being able to advance here after tonight's race?
Pretty good. I mean, I had the speed, qualified pole. Made a mistake on that pit stop there, lost the lead to Mark, and tried to push a little too hard and back and just throw my stuff over to it. A guy around me, tried to short pit, but Mark didn't let that happen, pit the next lap, and then just tried to hold on to second, fall with coat filled for a few laps, and then once he got around me, I was just riding with one hand. I wasn't even pushing hard, just riding along. There's no point in pushing when you have 2 seconds to the car in front, they're pulling on you, and you have 5 seconds out back and you're pulling on them. So,
well, not to throw salt in the wound or anything, but we saw you struggle a couple times tonight with corner exit, and obviously that spin up there coming back onto the track after that second pit cycle didn't necessarily help your odds by any chance. But can you describe to us just how difficult it was to race on such a hot surface today?
I mean, the corner exits were kind of like on design, if that makes sense. Like, I wanted to kind of get it on the right rear a little bit, get it some heat out of the right front, more on the right rear, so overall the car would turn a little bit better. Push it, like I was able to do that really good in the first run to the point where I had the best long run pace on the first run. But once I got behind the 8-ball and had to start pushing something to go try to get it back, it messed me up. I wasn't able to quite run it how I wanted to. So I ended up burning my stuff up just a little bit more.
Still a really solid night for you. Good points effort here will help you out as we head into the penultimate race of the season next week. Congrats again on the podium here this evening. And before we let you go, who do you want to thank or shout out for this one?
Well, I'd like to thank my team, Premier Racing Setups. They have some great setups over there. So if you need some, just go to PremierRacingSetups.com and just go buy one. They have dirt, oval, road, anything you really want. So, and then obviously the league sponsors, iRacing, MK Power Designs, InMotion, Purple Designs, Zach Graphics, and SAVE22.
Well, congrats again on the podium finish here at Iowa. We'll catch up with you, maybe speak with you again next week at Kansas.
Hopefully.
There you have it from our third place finisher, Wesley Burke. It's going to do it for our post-race interviews. And Logan, I mean, this was a good one. We had the different pitch strategies, a lot of side-by-side racing. And next week, going to be another good one as we head off to one of my favorite tracks out at Kansas.
Yeah, this race was the exact opposite of what I was expecting after watching the practice session with these drivers. There were so many incidents there where everybody would get loose at some point, go sliding through the grass or down the back straight off of turn 2. And we only saw that a handful of times and really never got out of control. Obviously, green to checkered here for today's event. So props to all 19 of these drivers to complete that one. That's a phenomenal feat in itself, but hopefully we can repeat that at Kansas next week and put on another great show.
Certainly will as we head down into the home stretch of this season. We've just got Kansas and Homestead left on the docket. Of course, going to set that championship for next week. And then the following week, another great track selection to head to Homestead Miami Speedway to crown the season 11 champion here in the SAVE22 Premier Truck Series. But that is going to do it for our coverage here this evening. So on behalf of Patrick Drabick, Jamie Barkus, and everyone at Goat Locker Racing, for everybody at V-Speed, Adam Baker, Morgan Cook, Eddie Smith, of course, thank you to Bradley for running the production. Thank you, Logan, for doing the co-commentary as always, and a shout out to Dougie Beard for those camera angles. My name's Daniel Cunningham. Join us again next week as we head off to Kansas Speedway to set our championship for. Good night, everyone.